farming is nothing you get in and out of. I mean, it's there for life. You ride it out the whole entire time. Boy, before we had risk management tools, we were at Market Mercy. A lot of days you got beat up. And you gotta be cautious, because if you don't know what you're really making per head, we will run negative numbers at the end of the year at tax time, but not even know it while you're doing it.
It's getting to that point, I think, where risk management plays a lot more of an effect in how you manage your farm than anything right now, really.
I don't understand why more and more people don't get into this. I really don't.
We work in a business in agriculture that most of us grew up in it. And we learned what we learned from our parents. And a lot of times, our parents didn't do any risk management.
The whole concept of the risk management program through us or any other entity like us is to protect your risk, no matter where the cash market's at.
Risk management is, it's a scary thing to a lot of guys that haven't done it. And so we're there to help set expectations.
The Benson Enterprises involve Orville, the dad, and two sons, Tony and Randy. I think it's somewhere between 600 and 900 head total is what they're trying to run a year.
We start them out and keep them on our stuffers with just a corn pellet mix until they're about 500 pounds. And then they get switched over to our distiller's ration, and we feed that on out the whole way. We typically sort our finished cattle 3 weeks ahead of time so we can put them on Zilmax.
They've got growers out there that grow their baby calves, their 3-day-old baby calves to 250 to 300 pounds. And then they bring them into their place. They know what those calves are costing at 300 pounds. They know what that calf going in, the expense of it is.
Anywhere from 120 to 125 bushel the acre of our corn crop goes directly into the steers themselves. It gives us a little bit of margin of error to either increase or to make it profitability by selling it. We do a basis contract right away at the beginning and see where we're at, and then come up with where we think we need to be at, and we go ahead and lock them in. Yeah, I mean, risk management for us, it just makes sense.
It's real easy as a cattle feeder to get caught up in trying to beat the market, trying to do these different things, and you know, we do talk a lot about where people think the market's going and what's going to happen, but at the end of the day, nobody really knows.
The hard part of getting these guys to understand risk management is getting them to do it. Once they start it, it becomes easier and they continue it. We've got a few tools in the box. Straightforward contract to a packing plant, our hedging program, futures and options, basically, buying puts, selling calls, so forth. Probably our mainstay, our flagship, is a straightforward contract to a packing plant. Real simple. You know where your costs are. You know what the sale price can be, and it's locked in. Phillips family. Gene's the dad. Scott, Dennis, and Todd are the three sons, and they're all involved. Again, very hard-working family, 24/7.
We just like to try to do everything the best on this farm, keeping up to date with technology.
We started making earlage about, I'd say, 5 years ago instead of corn silage. We think that's a lot better feed. It goes through the chopper and grinds all your corn up all at once, and then you put it in the bunker and it's ready to feed. We do put a little bit of dry corn with it and mix it in our TMR and feed it in our bunk. And the dry hay we like to keep separate in separate bunks, because some cattle prefer a little bit more hay.
They do probably half of their cattle on a forward contract. And I think the reason most of these guys that feed Holsteins that we deal with like the Packer contract, because they know exactly where their price is going to be. There's no second guessing. As long as their cattle perform and they're fed right, and all these guys are very, very good caretakers, they can pretty much hit, you know, when a 300-pounder is going to come out. They know exactly what they get on a daily gain, and from that we can figure out when they're going to be ready.
I think when you get into risk management, especially when you talk about hedging or doing options, there's a whole nother language and jargon that goes with it. You know, short selling, long, bull call spreads, things like that. And one of the things that we try to do is we try not to use the jargon.
And a freedom hedge is simply a hedging program that you go off the Merc. Let's say, again, I'll use April for an example. April's trading at $1.38. You can hedge those cattle for $1.38 today. You always want the cash to be higher than the Merc when you deliver a hedge, because you'll be in a positive position, versus the Merc being higher than the cash, you'll be in a negative.
We run about 500 head of cattle. Sometimes we're over, sometimes we're under. Our projected goal is to get them in around that 550 to 600 pounds. Weights will vary a little bit, but we do shoot for a 1,500 pound average. Now with running risk management, we figure in all the factors of trucking, death loss, vaccines, truck it back out. We do keep a lot closer eye on the grains, byproduct grains that we do get in. Where do we need to be per ton to feed? Years ago, nobody really paid attention. You just fed it. You know, it seemed cheap. Let's just feed. Now we're doing a lot closer job at where we need to be, cost per head per day, to feed these cattle. But using the risk management tools, I mean, it sets us up with a guideline, and we need to be running down that guideline. And our banker has gotten a lot more comfortable since we do have these contracts. We did get to do more upgrading. We added a lot. We added a lot to our facility in the last couple of years.
It's becoming more and more important with the amount of capital that it takes to put a group of cattle on feed. A lot more bankers are looking at, you know, what are you doing for risk management?
Knowing what we know about future contracts and how to try and project what we're going to make per head, it allowed us to get extra money to start building and getting our herd up to 500 plus head. 3 years ago, we couldn't do that.
I truly believe that it is what you're going to have to do in the future in order to make a living at this. The guy doesn't like to lose money, and if you can figure out a way with the risk management to be able to not cross that line, you're a lot better off. You know, before we had just took what we could get over the open market, and now we can actually sit down and figure out what we're going to make, and it's a lot easier to make our projections for the year.
There's both the Krupkas and Wroblewski have grown. Is it all attributed to the cattle side of it, the risk management side of it? I'd like to see, I think a portion of it is.
Us as young producers wanting to go to the bank for the amounts of money we want, because this is our dream, our goal, it gets tough. So I think that's where you're starting to see the young producers more into the risk management. I'm not saying they're forced into it, but it's our way of showing the bank that, look, on paper, I mean, this is what we're coming up with. Geez, if we even came close to this, I mean, within 10 bucks a head or 20 bucks a head, what do you think? Can we buy, can we expand? My first load off my farm 3 weeks later was already paying me in the pocket 7 cents over what we could have gotten in the sale barn, and from there it just took off. It's great. I mean, it's a great tool. I mean, I wouldn't be without it. I mean, like I said, I have 90% of my cattle are on contracts.